I miss being in prison. Now, I said what I said, but let's talk about it. Grab your iced coffee, sit the fuck down for this one. Yes, sometimes I do miss being in prison. I was in a men's prison in Ohio for 5 years. During that 5 years, I became extremely institutionalized. We also have to remember, when I went into prison, I was very young. I had practically just entered adulthood. My time in prison was the first time ever in my adult life that I was sober and had a sound mind. Some of the best friends I've ever made, scratch that. The only real friends that I've ever made in my entire life were behind those gates. People who were incarcerated. Some of the best people I've ever met in my entire life were inmates that I was serving time with. I accomplished so much while I was in prison. I got a fucking master's degree in prison. Prison was the first time ever in my life that I felt beautiful. Prison was the first time that I ever felt like a whole woman. I felt beautiful. I was happy. Prison was the first time that I ever remember smelling fresh cut grass and noticing it. It was the first time that I ever remember hearing birds chirp and noticing it. Seeing the blue sky for the first time clearly. Obviously, a lot of horrible things happened to me in prison. I was diagnosed with PTSD after I got out. It's a very complicated situation when we're talking about adjusting outside of those gates. When you're young, 5 years is a really long time. I fell in love, real love, for the first time behind prison gates. I really discovered so much about myself, and being in prison set me on this trajectory where I'm able to be successful and be happy and now have a healthy relationship with my husband, a healthy relationship with my mom, work every day, just enjoy life. When I first got out, simple tasks were so hard for me. I had not been in a car for 5 years. I got car sick anytime I went for a drive that was more than 2 minutes. I could barely even remember how to drive a car. I couldn't handle being in stores with groups of people around me. I couldn't handle noise. I still can't handle noise to this day. Listening to children scream or laugh too much would drive me up a wall and make me feel so anxious and nervous, and it still does. I was from a very small town in Ohio where I committed my crime. I also was a hairdresser, so I was in the public eye. When I got out of prison, everybody talked about it. Everybody talked about me. When I would go places, they would stare at me. They would whisper. And it wasn't because I'm a trans person living in Southern Ohio. It was because I was a violent offender. I was a criminal. I had done something really horrible. I took out a pew-pew and demanded that a teenager hand me money through a drive-through window. Getting people to realize that I was completely consumed by my addiction and that's not who I was after my release felt impossible. I felt so much weight on my shoulders, on my chest, to make people see and believe the changes that I had made to be a functioning member of society. It was hard, but I did it. Simple things like getting my driver's license, paying off all of the fines from the numerous umpteen amounts of traffic violations that I had was a task. But every time I would accomplish something small, like paying off all of my traffic fines or taking my driver's test and passing, I felt so much pride in myself. When I met my husband and we fell in love and got married, I felt so much pride in myself for having the first healthy relationship I'd ever had in my entire life and working on it and making it work and just coming home and being happy to see each other. When I opened my salon 11 months after being released from prison, I felt like I was on top of the world. I had accomplished so much in such a short time. Things that I could have never pictured for myself when I was behind those gates, I was doing. Everything was coming to me the harder that I worked. So, are there days whenever I miss having everything being done for me? Absolutely. Are there days when I miss just rolling out of bed, putting on my state blues, and not having to think about anything? Absolutely. Do I miss all of those first, like the smell of the grass? The first time I woke up out of bed and I wasn't so dope sick that I immediately had to run to the toilet or had involuntary tears rolling from my eyes. Of course, I miss all of those first, but I'm so happy for all of the seconds and thirds that are coming into my life and everything that I accomplish day by day. Every day I'm moving forward and accomplishing so much more than I ever thought would be possible for the girl who was 304ing for one hit of crack. When life gets really tough, sometimes I wish that I could run and lock myself behind those gates again. But then I look around and I see my husband and I see my mom, and I remember that we live on the beach, and I remember that I have the world at my fingertips. All of the places that my husband and I have traveled, all of the places that we've been able to take my mom, the things that we've been able to do for her, and the things that we've been able to do for ourselves, makes that adjustment so much easier. I truly believe that once you've been locked up, a part of you will always remain behind those gates, and that's okay. It's okay to say sometimes I miss prison because life is hard and I wish that I could run away and go back. That's normal, I think. I think a lot of people won't understand this video and they'll think that it's completely ridiculous, but that is how my adjustment went. It was hard, but I did it, and I think that I've done it very well. There are days whenever I think to myself, oh my God, I am so blessed. And then there are other days whenever I remember, oh my God, I've worked so hard to get where I am. So yes, sometimes I might say I miss being in prison because life was so much easier. But at the end of the day, I'm so glad that I've been able to adjust. Will I always be institutionalized? Yes. Will I always have strange quirks like not being able to listen to children scream or handle people running past me or being able to walk through a door first if I'm in a group? Absolutely I will, but I would not trade anything that I went through in prison, the time that I spent. I wouldn't trade any of that ever, because it truly did set me on the right path. If it was not for prison, I would be dead. Somebody would have unalived me, or I would have ended up ODing and not being able to be brought back. I think one thing that's made this adjustment easier for me is having my husband by my side and having my mom to see the tremendous changes that I've made. One thing that will always haunt me is before I went to prison, when I was at the bottom of the bottom in my addiction, my dad did pass away. And I often wish that he was here to see everything that I've been able to do. I'm so sorry, it's going to make me emotional talking about it. So yes, the adjustments are hard, and even years later after being released, it's hard, but anything good that comes to you in life, you have to work for, and it's not going to be easy. If it's too easy, then it's not too good, and I will work hard every day to keep being better.